Hey, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Curtis. How's everybody doing today? My name is Paul Morgan Stetler. For those of you, I think we see a lot of new people today, and there's a reason for that because of my guest. I think it's probably a good idea for me to introduce myself so that you guys know who I am, rather than the folks that tune in regularly. My name is Paul Morgan Stetler. I was the actor who played Curtis Craig in Phantasmagoria 2 a long, long time ago. And a couple years ago, I guess it was last year, it was the 25th anniversary of the making of the game. And I created a little web series where we did a oral history project where I talked to the writers and the director and other actors and the programmers and things like that, and kind of just talked a lot about the making of that game. And we had so much fun doing that we've continued on. I played the game for the first time. I'm playing games for the first time, some of these classic adventure games. And I'm interviewing the people who made them, and I'm interviewing folks who love games like this. And that's partly why I want to bring Ross back on. Ross Scott will be my guest today, and I'm super excited to catch up with him. He was pretty instrumental early on when I didn't know what the hell I was doing, in terms of kind of encouraging me to give it a go. So we haven't talked for over a year, and today's a great opportunity for us to chat and get to know each other. So that's what's going to happen. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. If you haven't liked or subscribed to our channel, we would sure appreciate that as well. Get a little bit more activity going there. We're still a very small little niche channel, and it would be great to get some more visibility. We have some pretty fun content. It'll be fun to have you guys check it out. I'm seeing some great comments. I'm seeing folks that I know. It's YT Wanderer. Thanks for your first. You started the tipping well. So in terms of tipping, if you'd like, we would love to get some donations for today, just to kind of keep our train rolling. And if you can, please use the coffee link. They allow us to keep 90-something% of the donations, as opposed to YouTube, which takes, I believe, over 50% of whatever donations you give there. So thank you for that. And I'm just going to do a quick little few thank yous, and then I'm going to bring Ross out because I just want to dive into the conversation as we can. Conversations with Curtis is funded mostly by our Patreon members, and there they are right there. This is our top tier members, our $10 members, our $20 members, and then our higher end members. And so if it wasn't for these folks, we would not be able to do what we do. And so if you are in a position to join us, then please join us on Patreon. And I want to do a shout out to Malika Chandler for being our top donor. She's just amazing, super, super positive and supportive, and can't thank her enough. Followed by Francois Demagella, Robbie Thurio, Joseph Austin, and Moffat Reborn being our top donors. There's a lot of fun perks in being a Patreon member. We have a fun game that my partner Daniel Albu created called Phantasmagoria 2. Or not fan, it's fan as an F-A-N, Phantasmagoria. Dimension Next, and he's taken all of these elements from our game and made it happen as part of our channel. So check that out if you can. And we actually put our Patreon members in that game, so it's kind of fun. And then, of course, we have our top 7 coffee donors over the last 30 days. James Jenkins, Zwex, Moffat Reborn, Defective Detective, Artie Pavlov, Astronaut Down, and Victor Chang. Thank you guys so much for your support. And thanks for the support that's coming in right now. Normally we have a text to speech sort of bot that has fun with these donations, but because we're going to be talking to Ross, we're just going to have these little thank you buttons come up so that way he and I can continue our conversation. So, all right. I think I'm going to dive in here. I've just pulled up a bio just so I can do a somewhat professional intro. It's probably out of date, and Ross can correct me on it, but I'm going to read this and then we'll bring Ross out. So let me get set here. My guest today is Ross Scott, also known by his username Chilled Sanity. Is that true still? He is the owner of Accursed Farms, and he's the creator of Freeman's Mind 2, and his Game Dungeon series, in which he reviews all sorts of great old games and interesting games, and has a wonderful take on that. He is an honorary member of the Masterminds and has collaborated with them on 4 recorded occasions featuring Robin Darnell and Ian Riley. Does any of this make sense to you all? And he currently resides in Poland with his wife Magna. So everyone, please welcome my guest today, the one and only Ross Scott. All right, Ross, there we go. Hey, there he is.
Hello.
Hey, man, how are you?
All right. And the chat's asking if I'm reading the chat. I'm trying. But
Okay, well, we will get to the chat. I'm going to make sure you have, I don't know if your audio is as solid as it could be. Let me take a look at it. More volume would be great.
Okay, I'll just keep.
I can also
keep turning it up, and then let me know if it starts distorting. Is that better?
No, it's good. You can go even a little further. I should bring mine
I'll
down.
keep going.
Perfect.
If I do it too much, it's gonna
That's
blow
it.
out. But
no, that's it. That's
okay.
Great. I'm gonna bring mine down a little bit. I think we're good. You guys can let me know if that works better, and then we'll make some changes if necessary. How are you?
All right. For what it's worth, all those names are just made up. Don't worry. Like owner of Accursed Farms, it's just a name I made up. It's
Totally. It's the same as conversation with Curtis. It's like when it's a thing that you said once, and now that's what you do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yes. Yeah. Quite a bit.
So I want to go back in a little bit, but I do want to just start with, you and I don't really know each other, but I will say that you were one of the first people. I'd say you're my first connection in the gaming community. So when I first decided to do that that series of the oral history series, I was wary and a little uncomfortable. I'm still a little uncomfortable with this world, but I reached out to you because prior to your review of Phantasmagoria 2, I got the sense that people really just love to make fun of it, which I thought was perfectly fine. I just didn't want to be a part of the thing that people were making fun of, so I stayed off to the side. But then someone pointed me towards your review and how much you really truly enjoyed the game and you really dove into it. And so when I saw that, I reached out to you and said, I'm thinking of doing this thing. So we had a fun little exchange for a while there, and you really kind of talked me off the ledge and into this pond,
Before I even knew you were still out there, part of my motivation for making that was because I think this probably was most famous because of you interviewed him recently, Spoonie's video on it.
Yeah.
And actually, I watched some of it, and there were good jokes, but I had to stop because I'm like, I don't know, I like this game too much. I don't want to see all these jokes. I mean, it was well done. And
it's
so
funny.
This was sort of my rebuttal to that a little bit. I mean, like you said, there are definitely parts you can make fun of, but I felt like it got kind of roped into full motion video game, which deserve all the cheesiness, takes on them that are out there. But that wasn't the impression that it left on me when I played it at
Right,
all.
and I think that you also acknowledged. I mean, that I think it even the more I play it and see it and all that, and I feel like there are, and I don't want to talk about Phantasma too much,
Yeah.
but the more I watch it, there are times that's just so cheesy. But then, and I feel like now that I look at it, I feel like in a way, Lorelai, who wrote it, she kind of ropes you in with this thing, and then she hits you with these other moments that you're not prepared for in terms of some of the the therapy sessions and the the relationships. It's like she kind of gets you. She thinks she's creating something that you think is you can predict, and then it goes in a different direction, which I think is really
I,
cool.
I can't remember if I said this last time, but one impression it gave to me was, like, okay, my coworker's telling a bad joke. It's like, oh my God, that's like real life. Like, so that kind of made it more real, because in real life, not everything's so smooth and great. And people are, I mean, some parts were still over the top, but
Right.
and I love the contrast, because like you said, the everything's so nice and inviting in the psychiatrist office, and that build it's the pacing of that. It just builds up to you. I'm thinking, oh man, I don't know where this is going, because it's like, okay, we're having our cool down from the madness we had earlier, but another night's coming, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that feel, all of it.
Yeah. It
So
was funny when I interviewed Noah. I was surprised at how much he said. Maybe it's because he was talking to me after all these years, but I was surprised how much he really talked about how good of a game that was itself. So I mean, it's funny how he uh, spent so much time having fun with it, which makes sense. But apparently it stuck with him as well. That said, let's throw that away for a little bit. I want to just
okay.
dive. I want to know more. Can we just kind of? Can you give me a little background? Where are you from, Ross? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Louisiana, but I grew up mostly in Virginia.
Where were
And
you
then
born in?
from
I was
there, I
born
lived
in.
several places.
I was
Go
born in
ahead.
New Orleans myself.
Yeah, well, I had family in Baton Rouge, so we would still visit. I mean, I was only there for a few years. My parents moved when an accelerant of that was some hurricane was due to come, but it just missed. But it blew all the bugs from the swamp into the into the town, and that was a real incentive for them to move.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
but we
that's
would
right.
still go back like every couple of years to visit family, and then later I lived there for a year or two with my grandmother who was there. So
So, what was your formative years? Where were you? Where did you go to school and all that stuff? Like
uh,
the early days.
I grew up partially in it was all in Southwest Virginia, so in the mountains and everything. In Roanoke, and then during middle school we moved again to Blacksburg, which is another town near there. That's where Virginia Tech is. Uh,
What
and
was the reason for all the moving?
well, my dad got a different job when we moved to the. I'm not even sure actually. It's one
So
of those
much.
things where I'm a kid, and then after and then it's like I guess I never really questioned. So, but they did time it so it was easier on me, because it was in between elementary school and middle school,
Okay.
so things were kind of everything's kind of fresh then.
Right. Right.
So not everybody knows each other because they might be pooling from different schools and everything.
And
So
if you're moving regularly, you don't know that that's not normal. So you just assume that every couple of
I
years
just
you're.
it's more like I've just forgotten whatever my memory decided whatever the details on that weren't that important, but things like how seeing all of our possessions in one truck looked pretty wild. It remembers that part. So
Right. Right. What about? Do you have brothers and sisters, or is it a big family, or
I'm an only child, so
only
it's just
child?
me.
Okay. And what did your folks do?
Uh, my father's a computer programmer, and my mother sort of homekeeper. So
Gotcha. And so, did the apple not fall from far from the tree? Or did your dad get you into
I'm
computers?
almost like a pure hybrid in some ways. It's uh or some things I take after my mother, and other things take after my dad. And it's funny, my interest in horror or scary stuff in general, that just seems to be a mutation where neither of them are into that, and nobody in my immediate family is necessarily into that.
When did what do you remember the moment where you're like, ooh, okay, I just I got scared and I like it and I want more.
Uh, Not exactly, but I do have some. I mean, I remember some early movies. Okay, okay, if you want to know, the last movie to absolutely terrify me, I mean, just to the core, and I was a kid when I saw it, was Ernest Scared Stupid. And the thing about that movie is, looking back on it now, they use some advanced techniques, in my opinion, for scaring, because I remember there was this one scene where this girl is afraid of this evil troll that's turning the kids into little wooden dolls. And we know it's out there. We've seen it happen. And she's there in a room, but she's manages to kind of calm herself down that it's going to be okay. And then she goes, and then she lies back in her bed and turns her head, and then the troll is right next to her, just grinning. And then it's just like, oh my God, that just,
Those
and then
moments.
it was almost worse because it was Ernest, because I was a kid and I knew that Ernest wasn't exactly your big hero type. It's like, oh geez, he means well, but does he really have what it takes to stop this evil troll? And it's like,
Nothing
he
we've
did
seen
not
so
inspire
far.
confidence, you
Yeah,
know.
nothing so far has given me a reason to believe that he's the guy I wanna trust to get us to the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
side.
exactly. I mean, it's like, we know he's gonna try, but does I wasn't convinced he had what it takes to stop this evil monster that's really.
That's great. Um, so yeah, so what were you like as a kid? What was your you were bouncing around? Were you able to make friends easily? Were you doing your own
uh
thing, or what was your?
I was okay making. I mean, I think I was always kind of weird and knew I was kind of weird, but I mean, I definitely had a lot of energy. My mother had wisdom to make me go outside a lot, you know, or get exercise. I'm still kind of like that. I mean, if I go long enough, I can. You know how some dogs like can really need a walk. You know, I a friend of mine put it well. He says exercise kind of helps keep the crazy away, and that's how I
It
feel
totally
about it.
does, and it's like also I find I don't do it enough. I get so stuck here in these, you know, my this I don't know how this room of mine turned into the studio that it has, but the very unfunctioning studio. But yeah, I end up spending way too much time stuck in front of a screen. But I swear, every time it's like a no brainer. But if you go out and if you get out from here, and even if you have work to do, so many things open up when you're away from it. You get, I mean, I get so many clear ideas when I'm on the walk or when I'm, you know, I think sometimes when you're just stuck here trying to come up with
Yeah, I
ideas,
just
it's, you know,
don't focus as well. I mean, I recall not really liking being a kid so much, and I remember being happier when I was a year up until like maybe late teens. I remember being happier the next year than I was the year before. I think because it meant I could do more by increments, you know, go
yeah,
out a little more.
yeah. And
Or
so at what point do you start? So tell me your foray into video games. What time? Where does that start? And how
that
does
was
that?
pretty
Yeah.
early on, again, just by luck, because my dad was a computer programmer. So, I mean, this was, you know, in the 80s, it was all kind of still open frontier as to what was going on with computers. And so, I mean, I mean, I think he's not really into games much, but he would load some games that probably just to see my reaction more than anything else, or just, or he might find this interesting from a technical perspective, like what they were able to pull off with making things happen on the screen, because he had a much better understanding of what was going on with the code and everything. But yeah, early on, he had a Commodore 64, and I could play that occasionally, when he wasn't using it.
Right.
So
And is it just those rudimentary games or back then, just the sort of
yeah, pretty much. I mean, well, the best stuff was all the next generation stuff was always in the arcades
yeah,
because they could devote an entire machine to just um to just one game, and you would have stuff that wouldn't be seen in the home until years and years later. I mean,
right, right. And what did you gravitate towards when you were as the game started to progress? What was your were you did you like the point and click stuff? Did you like the shooting stuff? Did you all of it?
I like the variety of it. I mean, I could go with both because the adventure stuff would always have the best stories, but being a kid, seeing lots of colors and sounds and shoot stuff and it explodes. I mean, obviously, I mean the kids don't have any defenses against that, or at least I did. So that stuff appealed to me also.
Yeah,
I think the only thing I didn't like were the turn-based, the RPGs, role-playing games. They would just have these rows of stats, and it would just be too cryptic for me
yeah.
as a kid. It wasn't until much later that the became a little more accessible, I think. But
And
yeah,
then
I could play different things. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's right. Did you end up? What did you do after high school, or where did you go from there?
Oh wow. Okay, after high school, I sort of alternated between going to college for 6 months to a year, and then not being sure what I wanted to do, or else not being sure what was going to work out, and then working for 6 months to a year, and it would just sort of alternate until I ended up graduating. I switched what I was majoring in 2 or 3 times, and
Where'd you
then
end up going?
okay, well, I went to James Madison University first. Then I went
I
later.
have I have the litany of colleges that I went to too.
Art Institute of Pittsburgh for a while after that, and then I ended up graduating from Radford University, which is closer to where I grew up. After that,
What was your time in Pittsburgh like?
oh, it was interesting. I actually have a short video I on my channel I filmed while I was there. Pigeon Hunter.
Yeah.
You know, it's a uh. I mean, it was interesting during that. Yeah, I'm mixing up the chronology because I want to say late teens and early 20s. I also got hit with major depression where I was in a state of, it's called anhedonia, where literally nothing makes you happy, where things that you used to enjoy start becoming as fun as like washing the dishes or
Oh
something.
man.
And so the only thing I was just kind of would look forward to would just be physiological things like food or sleep or thirst, that sort of thing.
Did you that sounds how do you at what point do you realize that that's not normal? At what point do you
It
realize that
was
you're not
maybe a
just a
few weeks or a few months in, and then later to convince my parents this was real, because I sort of had a sense of who I was. And the thing is, if there's things that you've always enjoyed or always liked, and then those are doing nothing for you, you can tell something's off. It's like I knew myself enough to know, and this wasn't just like my taste changing to something
yeah.
else. It was,
Yeah.
well, that went on for a while. I got prescribed, eventually I got prescribed Prozac. I took that for 6 months and it didn't do anything for me. But then I got prescribed Wellbutrin, and within days, I slowly started feeling my personality being restored.
Oh my
It
God.
was like color coming back. I mean, it felt a little off, but and then I think I was able to move out again, got another job, and had
Oh man.
motivation to do things again. So, and a
And
few
is
years after that, I went off of it and was mostly okay. So, it
thank
kind of
God.
jump started whatever was going on in my brain. That helped jump started.
Wow. That's like
That's why I
the
tell people, anyone
you had
who
the
has
EpiPen
problems,
of
don't underestimate the power of medication.
well, it's funny.
So
My
it's
my my son just this whole for the last 4 months has just had one nagging cold after another. And then we kept checking him for COVID and all this stuff. And there's so many viruses going around, and we're just kind of chalking it up to like, okay, his immune system's down a little bit. And then it got so bad, we finally got him to the doctor, and she gave him a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and like again, like within a day and a half, he had been struggling for 4 months. Day and a half, he's back to normal, and it's like, why didn't we take him earlier? What were we thinking?
I still never know what exactly was the trigger or cause. Or that's okay.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that's and that nothing, no one in your family, you wouldn't have even know about this disease had you not had it, right? It sounds
I don't even know if it was a disease,
or
disorder, chemical. I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah.
yeah,
My family, well, on my dad's side, it's been pretty rock solid. On my mother's side, it's almost like there has to be something weird to almost all my relatives on my mother's side. So it's,
so there's stuff there, yeah,
yeah, I mean, maybe not depression necessarily. I think my mother said it had like a, maybe not my grandmother, but maybe one of her relatives may have had depression or something like that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it could have been genetic. I don't know.
So that was a huge portion. So then when things start to clear up and you're back to functioning again, is that around is this when you're able to finish college and go through all that?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I remember now. I think I did stop after 6 months, or else I did well in the first 6 months, and then I started declining a lot in my freshman year in college because of the depression, and then I stopped for a while, and then started work or work different jobs. Yeah, I found if I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, working a job I didn't like helped bring remarkable focus to that. Yeah, that's another tip. If you're not sure what you want to do with your life, working a job you don't particularly like will really help you figure it out. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
what would
Yeah.
I rather be doing than this?
Well, I spent a lot of time working jobs I didn't like, but I spent more time figuring out how to not, how to just do the bare minimum to get by so I could get, but I guess I always did have sort of a
It depends though,
ultimate
because
goal.
some jobs are just kind of like ho hum, and others are just absolute dread.
Yeah.
So I
What
think
were
it is important to try to get out of ones that you just don't utterly dread.
what
So
were some of those early jobs?
okay,
What's your litany of jobs there?
I can't even pick the worst. Probably the earliest one I had was working as a kitchen steward at a Boy Scout camp, which wasn't so awful in itself, except they screwed up with the scheduling. And because it was seasonal work for a nonprofit organization, it meant they didn't have to obey a lot of labor laws. So no joke, I was literally working 15 hours a day. And I
Oh
ended up
man.
quitting that because of lack of sleep. And it was, so that got to me. Another one I did, it was for just another seasonal thing for the entomology department at Virginia Tech, since I was near there. And they needed people to go place these bug traps all over the forest, which that sounds good, except it was a lot of
Doesn't
off
sound
trail
good.
hiking.
Doesn't
No,
sound
no,
good at
I
all.
like being in the forest, but
Yeah, that's
the
good.
part I didn't like was it was a lot of off trail hiking. And no matter how I dressed or what I did, I would have ticks on me by the end of the day, like no matter what. Like it just, and that one left me concerned I was going to get Lyme disease the longer I kept going at this, because it's like that messes with your head a little bit too. That like, yeah, I'm going to have ticks on them, and sometimes I would spot them and brush them off, but then it makes you wonder how many you're missing. And then another job I did tech support on the phone for internet company, and that wasn't so bad helping people with that. But what I hate about that is they just time you to the second on
Ah,
everything you do. There is no downtime at a
yeah.
job like that. And that can kind of mess with your head too, where, you know, most jobs, you can space out for a minute or two, in between busy stuff. Not that job. They're just timing everything. And
So you're bouncing around to all these different things. In the meantime, I imagine you are, can you talk me through sort of what was what was inspiring you at that point? Like, what were you passionate about games? Were you passionate about telling stories? Were you passionate about like what was
I
the?
was like, yeah, well, I mean, games I've always kind of enjoyed one way or another, but yeah, during that time, it definitely got me passionate more about creative stuff or wanting to make movies, really.
Yeah, so that was
The
the goal at the time to.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons I bounced in and bounced out of college is I still wanted to do that, but but especially later, it left me with the impression that it was less about how good you were or getting your skills and more about who you knew and who you were connected to. And I had faith that if I worked hard enough, I can make something really good, but I did not have faith necessarily in my networking ability.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, I hear
that
you.
made me kind of depart from that thinking, well, I'm just going to have to do this for fun then, or just a pursuit. And it's not really going to be a realistic kind of career path. So that's a kind of, this is all before YouTube too.
Yeah,
So
right.
it kind of, it ended up kind of boomeranging me around in a different direction. But yeah,
So
that's actually what ended up stalling things is after I graduated, or no, no, as I was graduating my senior year, I made my first sort of more public video, civil protection. I don't know if you got a chance to watch those on my channel.
I did. That's
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. You know, we're using a game engine to animate the characters. I made a short with it, and during that time, there was a contest for these types of videos. So I thought, sure, I entered it in, and I was watching to see the results, checking online, and I ended up winning best of show and won $1,000. So that made me really reconsider. It's like, well, maybe I can do something with this, and that kind of I was still doing it kind of part time then, but it kind of
yeah.
gave me a
Yeah.
lot more fire to kind of
You
persist
got
with this.
the um, validation that you needed to kind of take it to the
Yeah,
next
well, I mean, I
level.
thought it was pretty good, but I mean, I didn't think it was that good necessarily. That made me think, well, okay, well, maybe I can hack it enough.
Yeah. So chart your course. So how do you get from, you know, you're working these jobs, you're making some short films, or you're doing things, and then well, tell me how do we get to where we are now? Because what you're doing is, I mean, it's nothing short of
You know, I almost sometimes it almost feels a little bit like the Odyssey for me, with Odysseus trying to get back to where
just trying to get home.
home. Yeah, because I mean, really, that's what I'd like to do more of is the kind of creative stuff. But there's a dilemma for me with that, and that I like making movies. You know, I like doing shorts or longer stuff or writing scripts, but I really don't enjoy animation. And that's always a necessary evil to me, and that eats up so much time for making those shorts. I'm convinced that anyone who truly likes animation has to have obsessive compulsive disorder, and I don't. So
Well, it's funny how you say you want to get back to creative stuff. I've heard you say that a couple of times, and I, you know,
I'm getting there. I'm
but
getting there.
what I guess I want to say is that I feel like everything you do is incredibly creative, and the way that you do it, and you know, Freeman's Mind is just it's just so damn fun and so unique and clever and your reviews I can see where that might not feel as creative, but again you are taking us on these journeys, you're telling us these stories in a voice that we just don't get in other ways. And so I'm curious how you compartmentalize this creative work that maybe you don't get to
Well,
do as much of versus what are you do you not think what you're doing
I
is
think
creative?
it's more like I'm you know, you made me think about it for a second, and I think what I came up with is I think I'm like trying to reverse roles in my head. Where okay, say I'm the audience member. Would I rather watch like a spoof thing like the you know the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Freeman's Mind? Do I watch a funny review, or do I want to watch something like new and creative with characters and its own little plot lines? And I would rather watch like the full plot thing. And to me, this other stuff are compromises. I mean, I try my best to make them entertaining for people, but you're right. I mean, that is more creative than a lot of things
You know,
out
and it's
there.
funny because I think a lot of people would agree with that, but I would say a lot of people, and I think tastes change over the years. You know, I for the first I don't know, 35, ever since I was a kid, I consider myself a huge film buff, and I just loved watching movies for years. I was ahead of the curve. I was waiting for the next movie to be released because I caught up on everything. Nowadays, I'm less inclined to commit that kind of time to that for various reasons. But I'm don't have that much time to watch things in general. But I do feel like there are a lot of people who would say, "Oh, I'd much rather watch these reviews, and I'd much rather make time for these." The kind of obviously because your following is great, so people are very in tune with what you create. I don't know. I want to, if anything, I would love for you to not second class the work that you do.
Well, I guess I at least want to get more of these made if just for myself. I don't know. I feel like nothing I've done shows the sort of stuff that goes on in my head
Yeah,
entirely. Like,
I
and I at least want to get something that gets closer to that.
right, right. And are there options outside of making a movie? What would be
Well,
an
shorts are
avenue for
still fun. I
that?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't necessarily put a movie on a different pedestal than shorts.
Okay.
It's just, but it's like something where it both Freeman's Mind and like the Game Dungeon things. On a certain track. I have to go with how the game goes. I can't deviate from that.
Right, right.
Whereas if it's an original script, it wouldn't even have to be written by me if I liked it. Then that can be anything.
Right.
And I like that kind of
Yeah, I totally hear
opportunity
you.
like
Yeah,
that.
you want to have after having so many years working within the confines of other people's storytelling, and you bounce up against I love, I think any kind of art needs to have certain box. You have to be boxed in
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
certain
you do
degree,
need a
so
little
you
bit.
got
Well,
to,
don't worry, budget.
yeah.
Budget's always going to be a
There's budget,
limitation.
yeah.
That'll
But
keep
the
me.
idea is like how much freedom can you have within the confines that, I think that you are incredible at really taking something that exists and blowing open all the different ways of looking at
Well,
that.
I, I want to say you can thank the public school system for that because so many classes I would get in there and the clock would just stop and my imagination and daydreaming would just start going off.
Well, yeah,
So
you have a hard to talk about. You know, I think what everybody gets a kick out of is that you'll see something that is just so obvious, and I think most people choose to just let it go, and you don't let it go. You like to you like to point out the inconsistencies and
well,
such.
it sort of depends on where I could take it. Other things I found less is more like the infamous moment in Phantasmagoria 2 with the dancing number. I thought, no, nothing I can say is going to top this. So like, oh, there Curtis is. All right. Just completely ignore it. Like it was better that way.
Absolutely, but you
Like
might.
I can't, nothing I can say will improve upon this.
But then you look at the map of where Curtis's apartment is, and you can't. You have to go down the road
Oh
of
yeah, yeah.
where the
Well,
hell's the.
well, it got me curious. I actually freaked out somebody who helped me because one of the locations, I won't say which one, was apparently just right next to where you live. So where it was just like a block or two away or something.
That's great. So let's go back because I mean, I'm not as up to date on what you do. I have a very limited, scope of your work.
No
And
problem.
most of the people that are watching probably know your work. They're here to see you and me chat. But just can you talk me through? Tell me about. Let's start with Freeman's Mind. Where did that come from? What is it that you just tell me? Just as though you're telling somebody for the first time. What is Freeman's Mind and the way that you do it? Tell me the whole story.
Sure. Freeman's Mind is me playing through a game with a silent protagonist where I try to fill just every minute with internal thoughts that he might be having about what's going on or his mind wandering. And I try to make it as interesting as I could.
Where did you? How did you start? Why did you choose that game? And
It was Well, it was largely a response of me being frustrated as to how long animation took in Civil Protection. And the game I was using to animate Civil Protection is the one that it's the same engine as Half-Life, where Freeman's Mind takes place. So I knew I already had a lot. What audience I have was already on board with stuff from that game. So I figure, well, out of games, this is one of the more famous silent protagonists where he just never says a word. So it seemed like a natural way to mess with that, since
And
like
had you been playing it yourself and sort of having fun, or did you? What did the idea come from you playing it, or did the idea come from? Was it more external? Like I wanna voice a protagonist. This is let me find the right vehicle to do that.
yeah, it was more of I was just trying to think of what could I put out that might be entertaining that didn't take so much work as animation. That's and again, it kind of aligned with that because it's the same game, or essentially.
Now,
It
do you
was just
play the couple things? Now, do you have to get permission, or did you have to get permission to use this game and to do it, or is the
back
cop?
then it was kind of fuzzy, but no, they ended up that company actually issued a blanket statement for anyone using their game for creative stuff that it was fine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nowadays, it's been kind of more nailed down where a lot of this stuff falls under fair use,
Right,
where it's kind of a transformative work that you don't have to
right,
like. They
right.
still own all the copyrights and intellectual property, but well,
But
it's
they're
like
not coming after you trying to get a piece of what you do.
right, right. I mean, no, especially not this company. That
And so, are you? Talk me through how you create an episode. So, I imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine. I want. Do you play a section, and then you record that, and then
I can tell you.
Yeah, talk me through it. I want to hear how you
It's
do
a
this.
I'm not good enough to do improv. If I was, I would have been done years ago. So, what I usually end up doing is I'll go through and just sort of scout ahead the area I'm gonna play next,
And how do you
and then
scout? By
maybe
playing
one or
it, or
two
are you?
jokes. What?
How do you scout? By playing the
Oh,
game
I
itself?
just play through it
Okay.
just
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
and maybe I'll see a couple things, and I'll think of a couple jokes ahead of time, and then I'll go through and record the footage, accounting for maybe one or two jokes, and then once it's recorded and editing, I just go through one bit at a time and think, okay, I have a 10-second gap before something's going to happen that I need to respond to. And I just let my brain wander essentially. So it might be related to what's in the game, or it might be just sort of a free form thought that I can squeeze in there. And then something happens I have to respond to. So then I'll make record reactions to that. And then I go back. It's like in chunks, like that. I'm just kind of going one small chunk at a time through
Yeah.
the timeline
And
there.
then what? It's a fast by doing that. You've had to create a form of editing that you probably never did before because, as you said, it's chunks. And then how do you? I'm curious about your editing process. And what was your editing skills like before you started all this?
My editing skills were actually okay before then, because actually there are a few small snippets, small video. I actually was trying to get like a movie recorded in high school, but with just like a camcorder
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saved up for. But what I found was I didn't. I had some friends who were willing to do it, but what I found, I didn't have enough people who were reliable actors for that. So that kind of fell through. And then later I did like some small film projects, like when I was at school, and I made a sort of game footage music video, or actually I think I did two of those prior to that. But so I kind of picked up some editing stuff along the way, and even before then, I did lots of stuff messing around with sound. So I just for me liking music and
yeah.
finding sound. Sometimes I remember for some games I replaced sound effects. I found it kind of funny. I remember for one motorcycle game, I swapped sounds so that when he did a stunt, uh, I swapped the cheering with the crowd going, "Oh!" So when he wiped out, the crowd would cheer like crazy. So
That
it's
is
like I turned the crowd bloodthirsty, essentially.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's super fun. And
I
yeah,
don't
we're
know.
playing.
I did. I've always kind of like multimedia stuff in general. Like
And
I just
how
kind of picked up things here and there. I don't even remember the origin of everything.
so how long does it take to so let's say you finished your last Freeman's Mind. And in terms of the game, it's are you just playing the same game over and over again, or is the game large enough that you're only doing these small chunks that the game
It's
probably
large
has?
enough. I've been only doing the small chunks.
And so you could how much longer could you mine
I could keep
Freeman's
going a
Mind?
while. I mean, it's a joke. I remember back in the 90s that my friend made about the game. It's called Half-Life. It takes half your life to get through, to play through it. So.
That's great. Do you still enjoying it? I mean, is it still?
I'm afraid I've burned. I don't dislike it, but I've sort of burned out that ability of my. I almost look at it like a tool now. It's like, do you enjoy your wrench and screwdriver set? It's because I spent so much time in that engine
Yeah.
that so I just have to rely on my memories of enjoying. I enjoyed it when I first played it,
I
but no,
you.
it's just a tool now in my brain. So.
Yeah. Joy is also a tool that you need to break out. Uh, so I was going to ask you another question about this because I just find it so fascinating. And then tell me a little bit about the game dungeon. So let's go before I get into that. So how did you end up? Was this the one that you were kind of work? Did you do this originally through a company and then ultimately went on your own? How did you end up sort of being your own
I started
entity?
off doing this as a hobby. Then a company offered to pay me for it for a while. Then they just went super villain later on, and I managed to escape. That was a whole other mess. That was not fun. And I went back to YouTube on my own channel, and then
What
it
year
sort
did
of
you
grew
start
through
your own
them.
channel?
What?
What year did you start your own channel?
I don't even remember. I kind of went. I kind of created it many years back, but wasn't really putting anything on it because of the contract with the company for the. But then I think I split. I want to say 2012 maybe or something like that. The Yeah, so I was always kind of doing it on my own. It's just they were sort of a publisher because in the old days, you pretty much had to do it through a company on YouTube, and
Yeah.
if you didn't want some liability, because like I said, now the laws are known, but back then it really it really wasn't. And say some company decided they didn't like something I did, or maybe they uh erroneously or just made up a false claim against me. I had zero ways to defend myself against that, and they could shut the channel down. Whereas when you're with the company, they could absolutely push back against that, and ensure that your video could stay up. So and making money off of it wasn't even an option for the individual back then. So if you wanted it, you had to be doing it through a company.
Yeah.
But and then by the time the company was just really trying to railroad me, it was an option to become an individual again, that you could make some
And
money
had
from it.
you already amassed a bit of a following through working for
Yeah, I
that
did.
company? So then people knew who you were there. So when you did go
Yeah, so when I
solo,
continued the episodes, they eventually trickled in from the old channel, or some of
yeah.
them anyway.
So at
So
what point did you start to realize, you know, that your following was growing and that this was turn? I mean, that must have been a fascinating period to go,
in
oh,
some ways, it's never fully registered itself as real to me. it's it's kind of, I mean, it's sort of like a dream. Like, you ever have a memory where you're not sure if that was real or if you just dream that? It's kind of like that. Where when I would look at the video, well, when I did Freeman's Mind, I think after the first couple episodes, they had on that channel, they had millions of views. And for me, like my mind never really processed that because if I was in front of like a stage or something and you saw all those people cheer, yeah, that would feel real. But it's like this is a number and there's lots of reply. In a way, it was almost more real when it was just on my channel, or even before YouTube, just on my website trying to. I was making posts in different forums to try to get viewers. Getting feedback from like 8 or 10 people, or
Well,
something
it's all
like that.
scale, right? It's all
Yeah, see, that felt real, and then just millions. It's like our brains aren't really meant for that. I think.
no, no. And I don't, my brain doesn't even have to process that because we're still in the hundreds and occasionally the thousands. But, as you said, you know, it's an interesting thing because once you get used to whatever scale you're on, a little bump makes you go, "Oh, that's weird," or a little dip. But it's like, so I can imagine, and yeah, I can't imagine looking at one of your videos and seeing, like, I imagine, yeah, it must be kind
Well,
of,
it gave me incentive to try to do a good job at it, but yeah, it's kind of a disconnect. I mean, I don't know.
And do you, how many hours? I mean, this is your full time gig. What do you, is it all through YouTube? Do you have other, I'm just curious
It's
how,
through YouTube, and then I also, a few years back when I was getting kind of worried about the shifting landscape, I set up a donation page, and I made a video. I basically I wanted to make one like this because I
ah,
didn't want to keep having to bug people about it if I could avoid it, and that worked out. So
that's good to know. I feel like I
yeah.
bug people way too much. And it's such a bummer to
You
have to
probably have
ask.
to at your level. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, we really,
it's surreal. And I say at your level, this is all dumb luck. This is all a wave of dumb
at your
luck I've
level.
been
Yeah.
writing. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I meant like I don't. I would if I was starting now, I probably would do things incorrectly with what.
Yeah. Yeah. This is for us, or, for my partner Daniel and I, for me, it's a fluke. This was supposed to be a one off. It's going to do this little series and then kind of get
Okay,
back to
I'm gonna
work.
read a quote I put in my. This is short, since you're mentioning this. I ended my little begathon video I made a few years ago back with this quote. I said this, and this is from a. It's from a game actually, where you play as a vampire and you can sort of choose your background, like what you were in your human life.
Okay.
And one of them was for a cut rate party clown, if that was your background. And the quote they have is, "It was just supposed to be until you put things back together after Evelyn left you. Here it is 3 years later and 3,246 scotches. Somehow you've kept this gig going without one repeat customer. Truly, America is the greatest nation on earth." And I just ended the video with that.
Oh man, that's
I said
exactly
it
it.
really captured. I said it really captured the spirit of what.
Yeah,
I
driving.
love that one.
Yeah, it's rough because you don't want to. It's fun what we do, but at the same time, like you and I, you just popped on 15 minutes before, and I'm struggling. I'm already looking at I'm looking at how off some of the framing and stuff is. It's just, you know, there's so many little niggly things that I would, if I had more time, because I wasn't doing all my other stuff,
Yeah.
I could make it a little more presentable. I like things to be in order and to be prepared and all that stuff. And so, um, yeah,
You might be able to give. You might be able to get volunteers for that. Just to mention to the chat.
yeah,
Because
maybe so.
that's something that's simple. Setting up a stream, arranging graphics, that is work, but it's also something simple enough that somebody wants to be involved. It might not be too much of an imposition on them.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe we just reach out a little more. We do have a
For some
very,
people, this stuff's second nature. I
yeah,
mean,
you're right.
it's
And we've got a pretty devoted and really
whereas other
good
things are
group.
just pure work, no matter what. So it's
Yeah, yeah. I think what we're going to do is, we started, it started, I'm getting off tangent here, but, you know, it started with just one interview a month. And then, we got a nice little Patreon following and people were really excited. And then last year, we've really, we're playing these games. I think people get a kick out of watching this 50 something dude who was in a game once play these games for the first time, because I'm not a gamer. I haven't ever been a gamer. So they get to see me experience these classic games that they know like the back of their hand, and they get to see me get frustrated the way they did when they were kids. And I think it's a fun thing. So we do these streams a couple times a week, and then we do these the interviews just keep coming, which is really great. But we're producing a lot. It's like three times a week, and I think that maybe we got to scale back a little bit so that we can create more of an avenue to ultimately produce more quality content. I guess that's the
Sure.
Don't throw it out there. So
don't get swallowed up.
So tell me a little bit about Game Dungeon. I think you have another one coming out pretty soon, right? Is that are you working on one right
I'm
now?
working on I'm working on a side video right now that this is something I've been trying to make for a few years actually, but
Okay, can you tell us about that?
it's like sometimes I feel like if I've sort of stocked up on Game Dungeon or Freeman's Mind, and I'll feel better about making these other sort of one-off videos. Yeah, but yeah, the game that Ross's Game Dungeon I realized that Freeman's Mind was not going to last forever at one point. So I was trying to think of something that I could maybe transition to that I could keep going a
Yeah.
lot longer. And I saw one of your guests may have mentioned him. There was a famous YouTuber made a series called The Angry Video Game Nerd, where he would play games and then get angry at them. And some of them are just hilarious. And I didn't have that kind of personality for it, but I had my own. I figure, well, I kept thinking for years, like, I might be able to make something where I talk about games too. And then I decided to throw one out as an experiment, and it's been kind of evolving since. And
What was
I
your first
think
one?
Tyrion, it was sort of a top-down sort of shooter. And I think my strength is, like you said, I can just go off on random. I've learned that, all these thoughts that pop into my head, I should just lean into them. So, and that's what kind of distinguishes my videos from most out there talking about games, where they're being more objective or giving
Right.
their opinions. I mean, I'll have stuff like that too, but then, well, in Phantasmagoria too, at one point I just decided, yeah, we're talking about password security. So, and that reminds me of an article I read about how the nuclear missiles, for the longest time, like the code was just all zeros or
Right,
something
right.
like that. And then, yeah, and then the UK, they had a nuclear missile base where it was secured with a bike lock. And I was thinking, well, and again, I'm trying to flip the perspective. If I was watching a review and then somebody started talking about this, well, I would find that interesting, most likely, because I'm not sure where they're going to go. So
That's
if I
great.
can make a joke, even better. So it's,
And then you have fun tracking down. I think with the Fantas too. Then you showed us the picture of that bike locker. You showed us you found the document with the zeros, and so
yeah.
you're not just telling us a thing that
Well,
you read
here I'll
about
give
once.
a preview of. Eventually, I plan to do a follow up where I'll mention your show. But also something else I was going to mention is Phantasmagoria was a fan pointed this out. It was ahead of its time, because in the emails you can give a reply like sarcastic or straight laced. Now in Gmail and stuff like that, you have Google trying to suggest replies to you. And somebody pointed that out. They thought, oh my God, they're right.
It
So
is insane. Yeah, you're right. Oh, that's a good point. And so, how many game dungeons have you kept track? How many have you done so
I
far?
haven't kept track. Dozens. So
What's your
somewhere
favorite
around
one?
there.
What's the one that you loved? What's your top three?
Uh, I don't know exactly. I usually try to steer people toward, like, if they never watched one before. One I thought came out pretty well was Mabus. It was this kind of off kilter game. Had some full motion video in it actually.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and it's like the one of the awards I gave to it was best story written by a 6-year-old. And what it is it just has everything in it where, like, okay, we're on this island and we have to stop this nuclear explosion, but then there's also a crashed alien ship, but then there's also hidden ancient pyramids. Oh, look out, there's mutants. And like it just, and it had like full motion video for the 90s, which was a bigger deal. Like, came on multiple discs. And then it has like this weird sort of like slot machine system to try to win stuff when you exit the game. And it was just kind of bizarre. So
Had
that's
you
the one
played
I
this game prior? Was it one that you're like, oh man, if I'm gonna do one, I that was the one, or how did you?
I never even played through it all the way. I just played some of these games. I've played some of them, or I didn't get all the way through, and I would think, yeah, there's something going on there, and that maybe I should like revisit it, and then I go through it fully, and that was one of those
Do you
where
still
I
play
didn't know
games?
how it was going to turn out.
Do you
But
still play games for fun, or are you even able to
I
now?
do. I
Yeah,
try to work
yeah.
in time for it. Yeah.
And so, how do you choose? Do people give you suggestions? How do you choose your games for a game dungeon? What's
It's
what's the
just raw
criteria?
intuition what it feels like next. There's I don't know if there's much of a method to it.
But is it
I mean, I'll
usually a
try to
game that
pick
you've
something.
already played, or does you feel like, oh, I've heard about this game, or someone told me about this game, and I'm gonna, how do you sort of, you know,
It's a
rifle
mix.
through?
It
Yeah.
has to. I I probably do ones I've played more. But if if I see a game that I'm not too familiar with, and it's given me signs that again something's here, like this seems intriguing, then I might just go in blind and make a episode out of that. Oh yeah, for you, I would recommend. I think I mentioned this in an email. I'd recommend checking out the Gothos episode.
Okay. Yeah, I think you did
Where
mention that. I've
it's a
got that on
full
my list
motion
too.
video, lots of very amateur acting, where they were trying. It was
Well, I played the Seventh Guest for the
okay. It's
everything
more
I
amateur
played.
than that. It's more
Wow.
amateur than that.
All right. Well,
But they had a good formula, I thought, where it was all green screen, but you're kind of wandering around the city, and then which was green screen from photos and everything, and then you just bump into different scenes, and so it's just sort of like it was like a free roaming kind of theater experience almost. I mean, it was really cheesy, but it was fun, and
oh, I got to check it out. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Like,
overwhelming. When you start
but
when
I
you
feel like this could scale today. I mean, this was made in the 90s. It was probably harder to pull off, but now it would be a lot easier to make a game like this. And I found it fun, and like, this is a good idea because, some could just be like little events you run into
it's
with
like
some guys in an alley, and there's a plot going on.
it's
Somewhere
like the
here,
movie
it's
Slacker. You remember that film?
yeah, yeah. I've seen that
Where it's
movie.
just one scene. Like he just ran out of actors, so he would just have two people talk, and they would
Yeah, and
run
they
into
just sort of
two
follow
more
the next
people, and
person,
then they
and
would, yeah. So like he just was constantly moving forward, and because budgetary, and ended up being this really
yeah,
interesting
yeah. So imagine
dynamic.
Slacker, but you get to choose which direction you go next. So, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's great. And well, I think we're gonna in a little bit. I'll just let everybody know right now that we'll open this up for questions. I know that you do your talk to me a little bit about you have these monthly chat sessions with your fans, and they can go up into 2-3 hours. Tell me about
Yeah,
how that
that
worked out.
wasn't the plan, but that's what's happened. The Well, when I did my Begathon video, that's when I started it, because I figured, well, okay, if I'm asking for money, like, I can't keep up like a faster production rate, much faster than what I was doing at the time, but I can make an appearance and talk. I can at least do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I figured that might be a way to kind of connect more with the audience. And like, I refer to these as just sort of proof of life videos, like when there's a hostage that, they have them hold up like today's newspaper to prove that they're
Right, right.
so I just let the audience sort of vote on whatever they want to ask me or things to talk about. And that what ends up happening is I would receive so many questions that the time would kind of run away from me. That I originally intended these for just to be about like an hour or two, but yeah, they frequently go on. However, I guess that has the benefit that if I am having a lull in the videos because they're taking me longer, well, I figure, well, I guess some of the more involved fans can listen to this in the meantime. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and so I one thing you live in Poland. How long have you been in Poland now?
geez, I've been here, I guess, about 10 years or a little
Wow.
over 10 years now.
Can you talk me through how that what
Yeah,
brought you there? Yeah.
sure. Around that time,
Where were you living
I
at the
was
time?
back in Blacksburg in Virginia,
Okay.
and I was. It looked like yeah, I had left the company not too long ago that I got away from. No, I was still with them. That's right, but I was making enough to actually support myself by that point. And during that time, sort of one by one, my friends sort of just started leaving, to they have a new job or moving to another place. And until they just kind of spread to the four corners. And I also received an email from a girl who wanted to know what my horoscope sign was. And so if I sure why look, the vast majority of my emails are from guys, so especially for something like Freeman's Mind. But so the ones from women tend to get more attention because of the ratios. So I figured, sure, why not? I told her, then she replied, and then she sent me pictures of like a snowy area she was in. So during that time, I had been exercising out in the snow by the forest. So I sent her some photos back and I kept on talking with her, like the email exchange. And then later we ended up talking on Skype through video chat. And yeah, so we were liking each other. So I didn't have much time me down. At first, I thought I was gonna come visit her because she was in Poland, but she kept pushing me like, "No, come here, come, like come move here." And then, so
This is all
she
before you
twisted
actually
my
have met.
arm.
This is all before you actually met in person.
It was before we met in person. Yes, so she twisted my arm on it, but I mean, we had video chats, so we were.
Yeah.
And yeah, she ended up becoming my girlfriend and now wife. So she kind of, however, even before that, in fact, I feel kind of certain I would have left even before now. I was toying with the idea of leaving the US just from cost of living, because I say I was making a living from that. And I did in my head, it's like, well, I'm making a living if nothing goes wrong, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
a
so, and
daily living.
actually, before that, I had one fan who was like inviting me to Romania to come stay here. I was half serious about it. It's like I wasn't like fully committed, but it was sort of in the back of my mind that yeah, I might do this. And I feel confident that like as years went by, I probably would have fled somewhere that was a little more affordable for me to live. So
How how was the transition for you? And do you come back to the States at all, or what's
I came back once for a while, but other than that, I've been here because well, for a few reasons. Again, that's economics too, because it's not cheap
yeah,
flying.
yeah,
But I mean, my parents came here for our wedding, so that they flew out here for that. I mean, I still talk with people through video chat, but
yeah? And do you speak the language?
it's kind of broken. I need to learn. That's one of my resolutions. I'm gonna try to carve out more time to learn more. I know lots of foods, and phrases. Like
Right.
I can read a menu just about.
Exactly. Yeah. And then your wife speaks perfect English, or was that always the
Oh, she
case? Or
speaks. Her English is
yeah.
very good.
And what was how did she ever live or go to the States? Did she do
No, not yet.
education?
She's interested, but also scared of it. So
Yeah. Fair
yeah,
enough.
no,
Yeah.
yes, coming here. I mean, it was different. I'd never been outside the U.S. before coming
Yeah.
here,
What a
and
huge transition for you. Yeah.
but well, hey, I played lots of adventure games. It was. I think I had the right mentality for it.
Yeah.
the no, what my first thought was, it reminded me of like in science fiction movies, like with time travel, if they do something different and then it changes the present reality. It kind of reminded me of that, where it's a lot of things are similar, but some things are different. It's like, okay, this kind of evolved in a different way, and
Right, right.
that
That's
was the general
fantastic, man.
impression it gave me.
I love it. I think that's so great. Haven't. I think travel is so important. I mean, you're not just traveling; you actually just moved. What's it? Do people? What do you? What is it like being the foreigner? That's not what
Well,
people are
like I
used to.
said, I grew up kind of realizing I was a little more weird than average, so it's not too different actually. If anything, it's a little more relaxed.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that was one thing I noticed. Well, there are lots of small things, but one thing I realized, that it had been too early on. It had been a few weeks, and I realized I hadn't seen a cop car. And I was thinking, oh wow, that just does not happen in the United States in a city.
Wow.
Like I
Yeah.
can go weeks and not see a cop car. So
Yeah. That's
like,
wow. All right. Well, here's what I want to do. I want to share a thing because you did something. I asked my fans to share some moments that they love of your previous stuff, and there's so many, but the one that I want to share today is one that Dapper Andy from our Discord channel pointed me towards. So, and it's also a little bit close to my heart because it's connected to the theater. But you took Freeman's Mind.
oh
I don't know
no,
which one it
I
is,
bet
but
I know which one you mean. Yeah,
you end up doing.
Modern Major General. Okay, go ahead.
So there's a couple things here, and I've queued them both up. It's on YouTube, so we might get a little commercial beforehand, and I'll skip through it. But let me see if I can get us to this. But it's just so cool what you do, and
Okay.
and what I don't know if I want you to set. You want to set it up first? You want to tell me what
Well,
made you decide to do
I was
this?
just looking to fill. In Freeman's Mind, you're always getting into gunfights. So it's like I was just trying to think of ways to kind of keep it fresh as to what was going to happen. I'm actually not really into musicals much. However,
But you had to
Modern
learn the
Major
song.
General,
Did you?
I see that more as like that's like a challenge.
It is a
I
challenge.
mean that has to be like the equivalent of like a stunt jump for the theater.
And how much time did you had to spend? I mean, tell me how long it took you to learn that sucker.
It's well, again, I could cheat because I didn't have to do the whole thing live. But yeah,
Right.
it took me a few days because I had to come up with lyrics that are different that fit the.
So what happens here is you'll see it, but Ross takes Gilbert and Sullivan's from Pirates of Penzance, the Modern Major General song, which is a patter song. It just goes really fast, and he basically has Freeman singing it while he's in a battle, and then Ross or Freeman decides to make up his own lyrics as well. So I'm going to share. Let's see if I can do this. I hope this works well. I'm going to have to share with you too. Let me get you shared. Let's see where it is. There it is right there. I'm going to have to share sound with you. All right, so there you go. I'm not going to be, I don't know why I'm not there. Don't worry about me disappearing, but I want you guys to watch Ross and watch this moment here.
Eat like a king who's on the budget. 3 tasty options, fries, drinking nuggets.
And we can all eat some Burger King along the way.
Too.
Yeah. Oh, they're not going to let me skip. It's a non-skippable.
Well,
Okay, here we go.
Man was killing every single soldier I sent to kill him, I would try something else. Hell, I could be a general. I have enough combat experience by now. I'm gonna sing about it. They can't stop me. I am the very model of a modern major general. Life information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England and I quote the fights historical. From Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical. I'm very well acquainted too with matters mathematical. I understand equations both the simple and quadratical. About binary theorem, I'm teaming with a lot of news. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Where's my chorus?
That is my favorite moment because in that song, that's when the chorus comes in and they sing the very cheerful facts of the square of the hypotenuse and they sing it over and over again. And you realize you don't have it. I think that's just so great. I'm going to play a little bit more, and then I want to show you something else, which you probably have seen. But
I'm very good at integral and differential calculus. I know the scientific names of beings and animalculous. In short, a minus vegetable, animal, and mineral. I am the very model of a modern major general.
all right, so this was you doing your thing. Now, have you seen the one that someone animated of your version of this?
I may have.
Okay, I imagine.
Apologies to anyone making fan content. I only have so much of a threshold for stuff about myself.
Totally get it, but this is the first thing I saw, and it's pretty awesome. So one of your fans, and I'll have to see it on the thing here. So let's go. This is Googly Gareth put this together.
Oh wow, he animated it. Okay.
He animated it. So let's watch it from the start because it's pretty awesome. He basically gets your face on there, adds some music. Let's see if we can go here.
Okay.
I would try something else. Hell, I could be a general. I have enough combat experience by now. I'm gonna sing about it. They can't stop me. I am the very model of a modern major general. Life, information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England and I quote the fights historical. From Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical. I'm very well acquainted with matters mathematical. I understand equations with the simple and quadratical. About my real theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Where's my torus? I'm very good at integral and differential calculus. I know the scientific names of beings and animalculous. In short, a minus vegetable, animal, and mineral. I am the very model of a modern major general. I know our mythic history king Arthur since the Caradox. I answer hard acrostics, I have a pretty taste for paradox. I quote elegiacs, all the crimes of Heliogabalus, and conic second floor peculiarities parabolus. You know, this
Okay, let me, because I'm not in here, so let me poke really fast.
Sure.
So you are, I don't know how you got off here. Okay, so
That was me. Here,
oh, I
take
know it is.
away.
It's
I was trying to fix it. I guessed wrong.
No, I'm screwing it up. But it'll get better in a second. But you had to put a lot more time into this than
no,
you're saying.
I guessed wrong again. Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Just
Yeah.
you leave it alone for a second. I'll move it around. Okay, there we go. It's because I had to share the screen, so it'll get better when I stop sharing. But I want to very quickly just say that you put a lot more work into this than you give credit for, because you take a long chunk of this, and then here's the part that's so great is where you decide to add your own element to this. So let's go back to it, and then here we go. All right.
This song is kind of dated. It's supposed to be modern, Major General. I'm gonna add a new verse. I can fire at a target and hit it at least at the time. A graph and then electropath while using only numbers by. I calculate the fall rate of a bullet shot 1,000 yards. I perforate the thickets of 100 military guards. I can make a simulation of an atom bomb and build one too, or flank a dozen men and ambush 10 of them out of the blue. From SMGs to RPGs, I carry quite an arsenal. And skip around a war zone like a subatomic particle. Still no chorus! Okay, come on, sing and I won't kill you. Those of you that are left, I mean. Okay, there we go. Every soldier out here wants to kill me for my curiosity. I wage war on the whole damn world because of my tenacity. In matters combat tactical and physics theoretical, I am the very model of a modern major general. Alright, no one else is even trying to sing along. I quit. Okay, delivery for Mr. Abrams. Oh, come on, I know someone's home. No, I don't need a signature. You have a nice day. Button. Oh, good. Yeah, I kind of want to keep moving. I get the feeling someone may have heard the sounds of multiple tank shots and the tank exploding.
So there we go. I'm going to stop sharing here so we can get back to our thing. But there's
You're
so
talking
much
about all that I did. Look, I know exactly how much work went into that animation. Like, I hadn't seen it all the way before, but a lot of talent making that too.
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
I've done the animation. Like, yeah, I think early on I sent you the Stranger in Need, the little sort of
love
zone.
that. Yeah,
That's exactly the same software that he was using. So.
Man, so it's so cool to see what people can do, but also, I mean, so he really captured the spirit of everything that you were trying to do and that you already did in your version of it. But it's funny, you don't. I think anybody who works hard at what they do and is good at what they do, there's necessary humility, unless you're a narcissist. But you undersell how much work and effort you put into your stuff. This alone is just, this is not easy. You had to pull it off. You had to write that phrase that would match, every single moment of it. It's really quite stunning, the stuff that you do, Ross. It's really, no one does it quite the way you do. It's more I watch it, the more I'm just blown away.
Thank you, but it is easy compared to what that guy did in my mind.
Well,
yeah, well, maybe eventually I'll get a good enough pairing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, well, listen, let's we're coming at I want to try to be done in a little while. So if folks, this is a perfect time. If you have, a lot of you probably have joined Ross for his regular chats, but if you don't and you have some questions for him, I will be happy to field those, and we can just do a little Q&A for a bit, and then we'll call it a day. Let Ross get on with his evening. While they're popping in, any thoughts or questions? Let's talk a little bit about our exchange back in the day. What was it like to get? I think you had commented at one point the surrealness of getting an email from Curtis, right?
Yeah, again, also in the sort of dreamlike state, because it's like think of one of your favorite movies, and then one of the I guess it's different for you being more in the industry, but then one of the actors reached out that they wanted to talk to you about stuff, and they look the same except they're older, and then you never thought that.
Well, it was we going into a little bit of the weeds of that. I think that I must have mentioned my reticence, but you talked about you have to remind me. You talked about a sort of a bizarre cult movie that came out that found some sort of renaissance.
Oh,
and
the
actor,
best worst movie documentary.
The best worst movie documentary.
I recommend that to everyone. It was based on Troll 2, and that movie it's a bad movie in quotes, except it is absolutely watchable. I mean, it's a good movie, but not the movie they were trying to make.
Yeah, right.
That's the way I put it. It's because I love surreal comedy, so it's.
Well, they found that it went and came and went, and the actors were all mostly amateur, and then it found this cult following, and then they were starting to have these midnight showings and stuff, and one of the actors was like really uncomfortable going there, and it turned out it was just a really positive experience. And
Best Worst Movie is the name of the movie. That's a documentary on Troll 2. I absolutely recommend that.
And watching that documentary and talking to you personally was the thing that made me go, okay, I think that there's some real value in emerging and talking about this and connecting with folks. And I'm so glad that I did. All right, some stuff's coming in here. Magic Herring says, one of my favorite Ross stories is the one about Metal Dave and the soul contracts. Did Ross ever find the contracts again, or did his mother make him give them back?
Well, they're hidden. She may not have found them. So it's.
Can you briefly tell us the story?
Real quick. This is on my Go to Hell episode. That was the name of the game, where when I was in school, there was this other guy I worked with part-time who was a real heavy metal guy, also had long hair, a lot of tattoos, and we had the idea to set up a booth in the cafeteria or sort of the lunch space where we offered to buy people's souls for candy. And it was funny because we were next to each other, and he's there with this black Slayer shirt of the band, tattoos, and I was there. I think I was wearing a white Wallace and Gromit shirt and looking friendly, so we almost have like this yin yang effect. It's just, and he's like, "Hello, would you like some candy?" And to me, it was just kind of a fun thing to do. But the reactions we got were priceless, because one guy was like, "Sure, I'm hungry," and so we'd sign. They'd sign over their soul that we made the contracts for. And there's one girl came and looked at us like, oh no, like, it was.
That's
So we're
such a great
basically
idea.
buying their souls, and we give them a handful of candy that we brought. So
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna tell my kids about that one. That's good.
sure.
All right. Right said Brett, one of our very devoted followers and friends, and writes, how would you rank the Monkey Island series?
I haven't played all of them. I've played the first 3.5, I guess.
Are you at all interested in the new one?
Maybe I'll see. I should probably finish the others. I guess the first one's my favorite. I mean, it's the atmosphere in that is just. I played that one when I was young, and I'm a
Did
big
you ever
fan
go
of
back?
soundtracks. And
Did you ever go
what?
back to the? Did you play the voiced ones, or did you play it
I have
back?
not. I've only played the originals.
Oh man,
So I played 1, 2. What was the next one? Return or
Curse
Escape?
is the third.
Curse.
Yeah,
And then I
that's.
started playing some of the one after that. I forget the title, but I didn't finish it. So
I think
guess
most
I'd have to-
people. Apparently, that's not the one. That's.
I think, okay, I guess if I was levy one criticism, is I feel like the first one had a balance of like goofy kind of tongue-in-cheek humor, but also like a mysterious pirate adventure. And I like the balance, whereas I think the later ones kind of lean more heavily into like the spoof and the spoofiness and the set parody and that sort of thing. And I kind of like the balance there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I think the new
Two
one.
is weird though. Two is weird. Like that one's. I mean, it's not necessarily my favorite, but that one absolutely stands out in my head. Like even now, like the ending carnival music will just pop into my head. Like.
Yeah, I played it for the first time. So everything I play is for the first time.
Two's
So
very different. Yeah.
yeah, two is very different, but it did feel of the same. It was Ron Gilbert, and so Ron left after the second
Yeah,
one.
two's more like a dream sequence almost.
Yeah, and there's some Guybrush becomes a little more sadistic in two. He just but it's funny, they make fun of all the things that he does, all the bad things that he does in the game, which is great. All right, more stuff. Darn it, the modern major. Yeah, everybody's saying that song's gonna
This
be
is
stuck.
why it
It's
goes
been
on for hours. Yeah.
it's been stuck in my head, the modern major general, since I saw
Oh,
this.
okay.
Yeah. Is there any type of content you've been binging lately? Pilkin Hub 9890.
Not really binging. I found I kind of been gravitating more towards science fiction or adventure stuff, but I've been doing that a long time. So.
I don't really have much to ask. I'm just glad that the both of you are well and in good spirits. At least yeah, I think we're in good spirits. We're in good spirits.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see what else with my friends. Could Ross talk about some of his favorite games? Yeah, let's talk. Let's do this rather than since I'm kind of stuck for now in the classic adventure point and click games. What are some of in that realm? What are some of your favorite games?
Oh, well, again, Phantasmagoria 2 is obvious. Puzzle Agent is that might be tied. Yeah.
You've told me about this. In fact, I started to
Yeah.
play it a little bit, and I thought it would be good to wait and play it with. Yeah, we should definitely put that on our. You said your mom played that,
Puzzle
right?
Agent's way up there. Sanitarium, that's one I like a lot. Can we mention Monkey Island? Oh, Sam and Max Hit the Road. That one's way up there. That might be the funniest game I've ever played.
Man,
For my taste. That's an old LucasArts classic one.
Sam and Max Hit the Road. Okay, that's on our list for sure.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's about two freelance police. They're a rabbit and a dog, and it's very
Freelance Police. That alone is great.
Yeah. It was a comic before that, and they adapted it. Well, they had a whole bunch afterwards that I haven't played because I was a little turned off because the old LucasArts one, the voice acting was perfect. Like the casting they got for it.
Their voice acting is amazing.
So, well, that's another one. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. I'm normally not into movie-based games, but that one was just really solid.
Yeah, my partner Daniel talks about that one a lot. I think that's another one that people.
It's
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen the latest Indiana Jones because everybody said it wasn't very good. And I'm thinking, yeah, they're probably right, and they should just adapted the story they had from.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Uh,
That's good.
uh, well, I guess
Uh,
his age would have been different. Okay,
so
yeah, go ahead.
Thanos says we need the final review of the Deus Ex games. Mankind Divided. Send it in
Well, I
Discord.
haven't
We'll
played
save
it.
it.
I'll
You've
see.
never.
I haven't. Well, I only got a little ways into it. I haven't finished
Okay.
it at all.
Gotcha. Uh, question for Ross from Zetsolipsist is Game Dungeon to him about recreating experiencing the game itself?
You know, I'm not even completely sure. I'll just say my attitude towards Game Dungeon. I like the idea of like like we're going on like some sort of safari and we're gonna see what we find. You know, that's sort of my attitude about it.
Are you you're not you're sharing with us your previous experience by sharing it with us now. You're not it's not like a
Yeah, it's a reenactment.
right,
essentially.
right. But it's not like present. You're not,
Yeah,
you know.
but I try to keep it pretty authentic to what I thought, though.
Yeah,
when I
right,
first-
right. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. The SWAT man Jack. I know you've mentioned Krull and Flash Gordon before, Ross. What cult movies influence you the most throughout your life? Same question for Curtis.
What cult movies?
Cult movies.
So I guess ones that are have influenced me the most. I don't know if I'm not really even aware of a lot of my influences consciously. I can think of some off the beaten path movies I like a lot.
I'm kind of the
Used
same way.
Cars. That's one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah. Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
seen it in
that
years.
one.
But yeah, that was really great.
Well, that one's. I was laughing so hard on that one. There's some other.
You know what's funny is it's funny that you did the Modern Major General. There is a you know, I'm not a musical person at all, and I've never really liked musical theater. Although I see, you know, sometimes it could be really really fun and dynamic, but that's never been my thing. Having been a theater actor for many years, it's always been sort of on the, you know, the drama and all and the comedies and stuff. And back in the day, Kevin Kline did a Broadway production of the Pirates of Penzance, and he played the Pirate King. And then they made a sort of a made for PBS version of, it was a very popular Broadway hit. And they went into a studio, a big sound studio, and they kind of recreated their version of their play, and they made a movie of it. But it's very stylized, and you can tell it's just them kind of filming a play on a big soundstage. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Kevin Kline is one of the funniest. It's if you've never seen Pirates of Penzance, if you don't care about it, I guarantee it is just one of the bits and the comedy and the music and all the stuff is just perfect. And I've showed it to my kids. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorites.
Okay, since we're mentioning cult movies and musicals, this isn't necessarily my favorite, but I'll say this is absolutely an experience if you've never encountered it. The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah.
If you can watch that live in like a budget theater somewhere, it's gonna be different than your normal movie.
Oh yeah, that used to be a thing.
Lot of, yeah, there'll be people acting out things, audio. You know, I feel like it must be how a lot of movies were, like maybe back in the 60s or 50s, you know, where they tried to have like extra stuff in the theater, you know. You ever seen the movie Matinee with John Goodman?
I don't know if I have.
You should take a look at that one.
Okay. Okay.
They add extra to the theater experience. I love that sort of thing. So.
Let me see a couple more, and then I'll let you go on with your night here. Let's see. A lot of people talking about movies. Puzzle Agent. Everybody loves Puzzle Agent. Yeah, everybody. Sanitarium. People are definitely agreeing with you.
games. The Space Quest series is a lot of fun.
Oh
I haven't
yeah.
played all.
Okay.
I would recommend that one. Yeah. In fact, they did a because the old games were in 16 colors, the EGA graphics where you had to type in the commands of what you wanted to do. Well, they remade the first Space Quest so it has nicer graphics and you can just point and click with the mouse. That is one of the very few adventure games I was able to beat without a hint. I was able to just
Oh, I
muscle
don't
through it with my brain. That's one of the. Oh, and I
not
will say, Puzzle Agent is very friendly on that front. Like it
okay.
gives you can get the game will give you hints if you're stuck. Like you can you'll amass gum and then he'll start chewing gum to think harder, and then you get a hint if you need one. So
That's great. Let's see. Songs and acts. Ross, we know you're a metalhead, so what is an album or band you would recommend?
oh geez, I'm so far behind. I don't know if this. I don't know if this even. Well, I liked a lot of old Offspring, but that was sort of. I don't know. That might not be metal enough for some metal people. I'm trying to think of. Well, I mean, there's a lot of the well-known big. I don't have a list of obscure metal bands off the top of my head, but a lot of the
Yeah.
famous ones, are.
Well, I'll get the last one I have here is Ross. I get the impression that both you and your community have a particular fondness for point and click adventure games as opposed to other genres. I don't know if that's true for you. Why do you think that is?
Well, no, it's not true. I like other
Yeah.
genres, but I feel like point and click adventure games are just has on average have better writing far and away than any other genre. In fact, I pulled up a quote in case this came up, and it looks like it did. With this article I saw talking about some problems with games, and this guy was talking about his favorite games. This article on Cracked like 10 years ago, and saying, successfully completing these games required me to kill, about 10 million people. There was a death on screen about every 5 seconds. Movies structured this way, 2 minutes of plot and 20 minutes of slaughter would be considered grindhouse cheese, direct-to-DVD stuff starring Steven Seagal that we'll never admit to enjoying when talking to anyone we cared about impressing. And there is truth to that. Even like big video games with like good stories, that can happen. That can be a staple of it. Whereas adventure games can really put the story front and center, I feel like, and
Yeah, and then those
be more
games like
competitive with other mediums.
yeah, the one that really I've talked about this before because I have such a have a limited range of what I've played, but I got hooked on the game Inside by the Playdead. Just a little.
Oh yeah, the black and white one.
Well, that's
Or maybe not be
Limbo.
black and-
Limbo's the first one.
But
and
Limbo,
then-
yeah, I played both of those. Yeah.
And they're just, it's all about mood. I mean, it's just there's so much quiet and foreboding, and in both cases, you're a little boy, which just, that makes it even more dangerous, and you care more deeply. And I really found the beauty of the art direction and the ominous sort of what's ahead to be so much more interesting than fast-paced go kind of, I'll never be
That's the thing now. There are thousands of games out there. It's like a renaissance. However, you can kind of sometimes have to search for the more kind of off the beaten path experiences like that.
Yeah, I want more of it. Okay, Ross. Well, hey, thank you. I really appreciate. It's just good to catch up with you again. I feel like we're old friends now at this point. I just really appreciate your support and just all the work that you do. You are just one quick question: has anybody ever approached you and said, "It seems to me that your voice is so unique that I'm surprised that you aren't being approached by companies to do their game or to,
That happened once. I was a finalist for a game called Unepic, which I think was supposed to be like another sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of game where they thought I was close to being the protagonist for that, but other than that, no.
No, but I'm saying like people wanting you to do what you do with Freeman's Mind or to review their games. Or do you ever get to the point where people are like,
I have had some people ask if I could review their game, but it can take a lot of time making one of these and putting it together so that it's polished and everything that I can't really jump to
yeah,
most requests
yeah,
of that.
unless unless the
And
money's
that
good.
reminded me of a comment when I first started appearing in front of the camera. I remember it stood out to me that said, like, "Oh my God, he actually sounds like that." When they thought I was doing a voice for Freeman, you know.
That's great. Well, hey man, thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and
Sure.
I'll keep in touch, and I'm gonna keep
I
watching
hope
your
I can
stuff.
get you some more views when I bring you up on the follow-up episodes.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun little ride that we're on here. So, we'll see how it keeps going. So, all right, man. Well, everybody say thank you. Everybody, thank you to Ross. We'll see you next time, and have a good weekend, man. All right, you're probably in the middle of your weekend right now.
No, it just started actually.
Yeah, starting
Friday,
like
so.
right now. Yeah. All right, man. Take care. Bye.
All right, see you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. That was fun. And thanks so much for joining. We didn't quite get to our goal today, and I don't want to badger or anything like that because it's a pain. But yeah, if you can throw a little something before we log off, that would be great. We are off next week. Both Daniel and I are both out of town, our respective towns, and then we'll be back the week after that to do some. We're going to have Tori. If you're, I got a lot of people here. Victoria Morcell Henningsen, the actress who played Adrian Delaney, she has been joining me. We have a video of her and I playing Phantasmagoria, so you get to watch the protagonist of the original Phantasmagoria play the game for the very first time with me, and then we thought that we would just, we just had to turn the tide. So now we are playing Phantasmagoria 2 for the first time, and she's in the lead playing it. And it's been really fun watching Tori play Phantaz 2 for the first time. So we'll be back a week from Monday with her. So please join us for that if you can. Please subscribe and join our YouTube channel and all that stuff. Thank you all for your support and donations, and we will see you all next time. All right, take care all. Have a good weekend. Bye. Oh, I have an outro clip now. This is new. Here's my new outro clip. All right. I'll keep this up for a few minutes. Okay, here we go.